Good morning, Harris County colleagues. On behalf of all of our team members at Universal Services, we want to welcome you to our fourth edition of Tech Talk. I'm Rick Noriega, the Interim Executive Director and CIO for Universal Services. And today we've got a really great Tech Talk program. It's my honor, it's a privilege for me to be able to introduce one of our really strong partners for Universal Services, Dr. Latrice Babin, who we have been working with as hand in glove over a good period of time in support of all of the great work that her and her team at Pollution Control does for all of the residents of Harris County. So welcome, Dr. Babin. We're so happy that you're with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Well, you were telling me when you came in this morning that you were coming in prepared for battle today, and that's why you wore your work shirt today.
Battle ready, yes.
What's going on?
Well, today we are chasing an odor. I will say a phantom odor because we don't have a source in Galena Park. And so that's one of the things that happens. Odors are fleeting and you have to really hunt and find what that's coming from. So right. It's a battle, literally.
Right. Well, I certainly face that here in this building from time to time too, that particular battle. But before we get into your slides and everything that you want to share with our colleagues throughout the county, who is Dr. Latrice Babin? Other than I know that you're a fighting tiger from TSU, tell us a little bit about you and how you got to this point.
So I'm a little girl from the East Side. Grew up swimming in the San Jacinto River along Banana Bend, fishing and crabbing. Used to the hazy air and the smell of the water, but we just kind of thought that's money. It's what it is because we family members working in industry. But then as I got older and went to college, I started learning what that really was, and I became intrigued. And so I started working at Harris County Pollution Control as an investigator, investigating some of those things. And then I went into the lab, kind of went through different positions, learning about the regulations and gearing myself more. And then I went back to TSU and got a environmental toxicology degree, my PhD in environmental tox, which really opened my eyes. And so I became the warrior for all things toxin, trying to figure out how we could better the environment and combat these toxins.
Well, reading through your bio has been super inspirational. I mean, you've been a warrior that walks the talk. I noticed that on behalf of the county residents and whatnot, you have testified as an expert witness in different events. You've taken on some of the big boys out there, if you will, in terms of pollution, and have also represented us either with education groups, with other boards that you sit on, representing your passion for what you do for the residents of Harris County as our leader in pollution control. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So as you indicated, I am actually on a couple of boards. The one that most recently I was very proud to say that I'm a part of is the National Association of Clean Air Agencies, where I'm the local co-chair for the Air Toxins Committee. And we work with other jurisdictions across the nation to really figure out how to combat toxins and work together with the EPA and try to figure out what best we can attack rules and at the state, local, and local governmental
That's awesome.
levels.
Fantastic. Well, look, you brought some things you wanted to share with all of our colleagues throughout the county today. Can we throw up your slides and see what you would like to talk about today?
Yes, please.
We've got Jamal, our new producer, our intern from the great University of Houston, flipping slides. So we'll see what you have.
So what you're seeing here is, I'm very proud of this, it's our community air monitoring program. And it's a series of what we're calling low-cost air monitors that we're able to place in strategic areas around the county. Because of the low cost, we're able to purchase more with more buying power. The larger units are in the 300,000 range. Mm-hmm. These are around 15,000 to get set up. They're run by, there's a little internal battery, but they're run by solar energy, which is self-sustaining, and we are able to place these with criteria that we've identified around different areas of the county. Right now we have 12, looking to put a few more out this year, and they're growing.
That's awesome. Do you know if with that type of infrastructure, if the federal infrastructure discussions that are occurring, will we maybe be able to benefit from some of those infrastructure dollars for pollution control?
It is my hope that we can obtain some of those. And if we do, then as these areas show us issues, we can maybe put some of those larger 300,000 units in there.
Wow, that'd be fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's see what else we have. Monitoring equipment that you shared with us. Okay, and then is this where they're located, your different pieces of equipment for air monitoring?
So this map shows quite a few things. It shows the camp monitors. It shows HRM monitors, which is Houston Regional Monitoring. They actually have graciously allowed us to place some of their data on our website. So we have our camp data on the website. You can also see the HRM data, and there's some TCEQ data on there from the TCEQ. That's the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, which is the state agency.
Correct, and HRM is?
Houston Regional Monitoring.
Okay, got it. Okay, so those are the different regional partners that you have to coordinate with and synchronize with and share information and so forth on what's going on, I'm assuming, right?
Right. This gives us the opportunity to give residents a broader picture of what air quality looks like near them.
And then when you collect all this data or share all this data, that then helps your investigators or whatever you're doing in the event of complaints or where we're seeing things and all that kind of coordination, I suspect.
So it does, but we also have additional monitors that we use. Our investigators go out, they have portable monitors that they use to help in their investigations, and it really helps them where they're located because they may not be near one of those monitors. It gives them an idea of what the exposure is at that location.
Well, in our office, we've had the great pleasure of working with one of your senior investigators, Libby Gwynn.
Yes.
And we've had a wonderful relationship and working through some of the software and applications that we coordinate with you to support your investigators in the field and for y'all to do your investigation. We've learned so much about how, the work or the investigation isn't completed unless the paperwork's done, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
So it has to be, very, very precise for the purposes of you and your investigators when y'all bring perhaps a complaint or move a claim forward, I suspect, right?
Yes, so the thing that we try to do is make sure that the paperwork tells the tale. So it has to be as detailed as possible so that if we have to go into enforcement and move into litigation, that paperwork serves as information for our attorneys to put the case out there, but it also gives the information for the defense attorney to understand what we saw out there. So it has to be very precise, very detailed. And as you indicated, it's not over until the report is finished.
Right. Well, here's another really interesting project that we got to work on together that we're super proud of. And this is your green fleet. You're kind of leading the way for the county, leading by example on walking the talk. Talk a little bit about this program and how it came about.
I'm so excited about this. So we were looking to acquire a fleet, but as the environmental end of the county, we wanted to make sure that we had a sustainability component. And so integrating an electric fleet allows us to do just that. It lessens our carbon footprint, and it allows us to not only talk about, decreasing air emissions and helping with the SIP, but it also allows us to do that in moving fashion. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity that we had working with Universal Services to get some rebates actually on some of the vehicle purchases that we made.
Right, and those rebates came through TCEQ.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and I know Lori on our team worked with y'all with the grant applications and the recharging stations and so forth. And I know that we were able to work together. I remember you calling me one day and said, hey, can we continue to store those cars out at 66th Street, that warehouse over there, till we're ready to roll them out and plug them in. And so that worked out really, really well. This particular photo we took at your ribbon cutting of this particular project. Yeah, what was that, in April or so? I'm trying to recall.
Was it? It was February.
February. Wow. Okay.
This was a fun event. We had a chance, even with COVID, we took the opportunity to have a little celebration because this was a big deal for us. So we had key launch and we called each investigator up, gave them their individual key for their assigned vehicle, and it was a little party.
It was an outdoor event, and it was really neat to watch each of your team members come up there and be awarded their key to their new electric vehicle, and so that was an exciting event. That's Jim Smith, director of our fleet, that's with us. He helped to they helped to get those cars prepared for operation, and so we were really proud and honored, Dr. Babin, that you invited us out to be part of that very special event for Harris County. I mean, it's really kind of setting the way, and you know, no good deed goes unpunished. I can't tell you now how many departments are coming to us because of your leadership. Say, when can we transition our fleet to electric? When, you know, and so we're getting, and in 2022, that's one of our, you know, our objectives is to move smartly to do what you and your team have done. And so I want to thank you for leading the way for Harris County.
Thank you. Jim Smith worked very closely with Craig Hill on that project, and we were very fortunate to have the leadership that you guys gave us in that endeavor.
Well, tell us about this RAM, this particular, is that, am I saying it correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm very proud of this as well. It's not rolling out yet. We're still doing some very important work. It's called the RAM because it's the Rapid Ambient Air Monitoring Vehicle. And a very important part of this vehicle is it's still pending. It's the Aroma, which is a mobile complete lab system that we're going to put into this vehicle. It's going to allow us to drive along and capture air samples and have a laboratory grade analysis done on the air quality. So I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be a really benefit for the county. And when you see this, you'll know that Harris County Pollution Control is in action.
Wow. That, and I suspect, I mean, the efficacy of this thing, I mean, the controls on this have to be very, I mean, you have like a rolling scientist in this thing, I guess, essentially, right?
Yes, we have a special group that we recently hired, our monitoring and surveillance crew, and they are hard at work now putting in shelves and putting in the computers. They're also working with your group to put in a complete IT board in there. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so that particular team, I mean, what's the makeup of that team, your team members in that vehicle?
So we have two team members, Aaron Lee and Sean Williams, who are the persons that are engineering this, should I say, and they've worked with your group through Craig Hill, trying to make sure that all of the intricate parts that need to be included are included. And they're also working with the IT to make sure that all of the equipment works well. There's not any surges, you know, that kind of thing. So we can keep everything flowing because that's really important for those expensive pieces of equipment in that van.
That's fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing that, and hopefully this won't be your last piece of equipment like this. Is it your intent, you think, in the future to have more rolling laboratories, if you will?
I'm calling this number one.
Okay.
And I'm projecting that there will be others. Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's it. So the RAM. Now, okay, now here's another neat looking piece of equipment. Tell us about this particular drone.
So drones are not toys for us. Drones are working pieces of equipment. So what you see here is the autotail, and it will be used to do, there's two different functions. One will be able to get thermal imaging so that if there is a vessel that has a leak of some sort, we can actually have an inverted view and see where that leak is because it'll show in a different contrast. So that's very helpful. It also will allow us to take photos. So if there's somewhere that's in a field somewhere, we can't get to it very easily, but we know that there may be drums back there, we can use this and we can actually get a visual on it before anybody goes near it. The thing is, we have to have pilots that do this. We can't just automatically go out and start flying this around. We do have one trained and licensed autopilot for this, and we actually have another that's in process that should be taking the test. I'm going to say maybe in the next week or so. So I'm excited about that.
This is a particular area that cuts across the county, obviously, in terms of having qualified pilots. I mean, a lot of our colleagues in the field, engineering, flood control, a lot of others are into this space now, and it's going to be interesting to see how we collectively evolve all the data then that's collected from each of our partners out there, and how they synchronize with one another for the betterment of the county is going to be one of our collective strategic challenges, moving forward. What we do with that data, if it's a leak on something and it's affected in a bridge or whatever the cases may be, the collateral effects of things, it's going to be it's a fun challenge for us to try to connect the dots, if you will, moving forward for the county. How about this particular piece of equipment? This one's.
So this one is extremely important because it's not only a drone, but it's a in-flight lab.
Wow.
So it actually has the ability to capture samples. Say there's a fire, there's a plume that's aloft. We can actually send this drone up into that plume. We can take a sample, and it can run through this on-flight laboratory. If it doesn't get a detection, or if we're still not sure, we actually have the ability to connect a TEDLAR bag that we can draw the sample in at the same time, take that bag off, take it into the laboratory, and have a laboratory grade analysis done with an even more extensive laboratory library. So I'm excited about this. This is going to teach us a lot of information.
That's crazy. Well, let me ask you this. So when you deploy this particular piece of equipment, the pilot then has to move within the vicinity of the incident?
They have to be within sight so they can see this, because you can't have non-sight on a drone. But they're still going to be downwind and be protected in a distance that's protective of them. So this is important. The laboratory can't be too large because it restricts the flight time and the ability to get up. So it has limited capacity, and that's why the TEDLAR bag is very important to us. The drone project has not lifted yet. The program has not started, but we are in the process because we have to get this other pilot licensed.
Right, yeah, because you got one pilot on that other piece of equipment, and you need another pilot for this piece of equipment, potentially, right?
And they watch each other and help each other. They work in tandem.
Oh, fantastic. So look, share with it, this is something that we worked on together too. This particular service, if you will, or our transparency product for the county, and how we're collectively getting better. Can you share this with us?
So we were able to launch our online complaint form, I think maybe in about February or March, which allows constituents or residents to go in. They can use their phone while they're out. If they see something that they are questioning whether or not it's a legal something to do in the environment, they can take a picture of it. They can upload it into this form. It goes into our queue in our offices, and then we can assign that to an investigator. Now, it shouldn't be used for an emergency. So if you have a nuisance odor or something that's impacting you, you shouldn't use this. You should go ahead and use the phone number and give us a call. But if you have something that is maybe solid waste that's sitting there, you can definitely use this, and we can get back to you on the next work day.
And our team, I know a couple of our folks, I don't know if Andrew Coleman or Ali Zaidi from our team, a couple of folks from Universal Services help work with on this particular project. But it's important because it's another, from your leadership, innovative. It's outward facing. So if you live where you were talking about, Galena Park as an example, where you're running to today, or wherever, it allows folks in Harris County. Now they download this app, is that correct?
It's not an app. You just go on your phone and you can go into our website. And our website address is on there. You can also email us a complaint if you have something going on. You don't want to do the online form. Just use our email, or you can just call us at 713-920-2831. That's
fantastic. You mentioned to me a little while ago about when you first came in as director, some folks out in the field, constituents, our neighbors in the county, their ability or wanted to know whether or not they were being heard or not. And you mentioned, I mean, this particular form is an example of a response to a lot of that constituent concerns about how do I communicate that I have something I want to share, and this would be one of those outcomes.
Exactly, because we could have a photo of something that you see out there. You can upload it, so you don't have to just describe it to us. You can actually let us see what you saw. And so we know when we drive out there, we know exactly what to look for. If it's barrels, we know exactly what color barrels. We know exactly what the questions, what the signatures look like on there. We know everything about that site because you've given us a photo.
Outstanding. Well, look, that's exciting. We've got some questions coming in for you. I suspect that maybe they could be. Let me see how I can get to these here real quick. And we've got 8 new questions. Okay, here we are. This is from Anonymous.
Okay.
So it may be from pollution control.
Hello.
So hi, your boss is here. Are any plans being discussed to allow remote work on a permanent? Well, this sounds like from my office, actually. Remote work on a permanent basis to aid in pollution control from the community, from the commute.
So we've learned a lot with COVID, and so we had some growing pains. We had to get some tweaking. We had to make sure we had enough laptops and things, and distribute MiFi so that people could do work from home. However, as we move back into the work in the office, we're going to investigate that and see what that looks like. I feel like there's going to be a component of remote work as we do our work in the future. We can't just stay in the office 5 days a week anymore. We're going to have to add something more progressive into that.
It's something that our executive team has been working through, and we've worked through a variety of different models. We're looking at what's going to make the most sense for the county and be most efficient. Meeting with David Berry last week, he was showing me a model that he uses for his office. And so it's important, but at the same time, I mean, we got to get the job done too. So it is a new normal that we're all entering in. Here's another question for you, Doctor. What was harder, getting your PhD while working for the county or your duties as a director?
Wow. So I'll say the PhD was challenging, but my work for the county, although there are difficult days, it's a labor of love. And so the two really can't really be compared because one was something that was a short term, and the work that I've done with the county, I've been with the county for 26 years. And so it's a labor of love that I've endured for 26 years. And I enjoy it because no day is exactly the same. Every day you come in, it's a different adventure, and you get to meet wonderful people in doing this and a benefit for the county. So
well, I definitely understand that sentiment. I tell our team it's every day's a Forrest Gump day. It's like a box of chocolates.
True.
You never know what you're going to get every day you walk in, especially you and I talked about this earlier, Friday at 5 o'clock.
Friday at 5 o'clock, yes.
Set your watch.
Can't let your guard down.
Absolutely. Okay, so here's another one for you. How are sites identified for a camp?
So we have several criteria. We want to make sure that it is an accessible area so that we can get to it at all times. So it needs to be on a county property or a property that we have an agreement with an entity that we can use. Can't be on a private property owned by a citizen, but it could be a city property or it could be a flood control property that allows us to get on there. It also has to be away, at least a 2-mile distance away from another type of monitor. So we don't mind it being within 2 miles because that's considered kind of a co-location, but we don't want to put too many resources in one area and not have a resource in another area. And we want it to be a benefit to the community. So those are 3 of the criteria that we look at.
Well, that makes sense for sure. Okay, can you speak to what stakeholders are involved in locating air monitors in our area and their strategy of concentrating them around the ship channel rather than widely dispersed?
So we had several stakeholders that helped us develop those criteria. There was Air Alliance. There was, of course, our county liaisons. There was I'm going to not mention everybody by name because I'm going to forget, but we had several that we work with, some industry folks as well. And what we decided is that, industry is along the ship channel corridor, but there's also industry peppered within the county. So it's not all concentrated within the ship channel area, but that's probably the greatest concentration. We're spreading them around all 4 precincts, around every area of the county that we understand needs that.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Okay, here's one for you. You are a very forward thinker. Outside of the drones and RAM, are there any other technological advances that you would like to implement in the future for Harris County?
So I'm still really trying to put my hand on technological things. So we're trying to move our investigators into a tech-friendly environment where they can go out in the field, do their investigation, and put the information in on a tablet. So we're exploring that right now to see what works best so that we can integrate with the U.S. system.
That's the one that you and I were discussing, and so we're hoping to with Kathy Young leading our program management team to run that through our assessment review resources validation board, working with your liaison to see how we can come up with a solution for what you need to do what you're talking about, God willing. So
Thank
we'll
you.
see. You bet.
Yes.
So are we taking any measures to control the bad air pollution?
We are investigating. We have all of these pieces of equipment that we have purchased that we're trying to use to get quantitative and qualitative information. And then we use that information so that we can make comments on permits, and we can talk with industry, and as well as some of them are more smaller industries. And we're trying to talk with them and let them know what we're finding and try to see if there's best practices that we can talk about having them include to help lessen that impact on the environment.
This is a very agile environment that you've always got to be changing or prepared for change, and innovations like an everyday thing. I think in your environment, in your space is ours too. So here's a comment here from Chan Tizer from the Harris County Administrator's Office. Very cool, Dr. Babin. I did not know PCS had these drones. Are there privacy restrictions on when and where they can be flown, or restrictions on where they can point their cameras?
So that's part of the licensing. Once you get your license, you learn all of those restrictions and you understand what that means. And then there are some things that are proficient things that you have to show that we may be able to get waivers to move into different spaces when we show those proficiencies. So it is a license thing that you learn what your acceptable means are.
Yeah, and I'm assuming like the county attorney has to review all of this, and so there's a whole lot of stuff that has to be considered before you put anything in the air.
And we work very closely with the county attorney's office. If we have any questions, we're not going to move forward until we get that vetted to make sure we're okay.
Okay, a couple of quick questions because we've got 2 minutes left. Does your office work hand in hand with the city of Houston?
We have a couple of partnerships that we have done with the city recently, and we are engaging in a air monitoring at night and weekends with them for the next 9 months or so. But yes, we try to work very closely with all of our local agencies.
How important is vegetation and the planting of trees to make an impact on air pollution control?
Great question. So trees help to filter out. It's nature's filter. So if you can plant trees in an area where there might be high pollution, that helps to filter that air, as well as even water is filtered by vegetation. So that's a really natural way to do that.
So quickly, we got one more question. Debbie Allen with the Sheriff's Office, can communities in Northeast Houston inside the loop request assistance from your department?
So that is probably in the city's jurisdiction. However, because it's in the city, that doesn't mean that we can't look at it. We may have to refer it to the city, and if they're not able to get to it, then we'll work on that, definitely.
Here's a question. I'll answer this one. Are we considering replacing Harris County owned all vehicles to green cars? The answer is, I think the vision of the leadership is that we're working on looking at some type of hybrid going into the future that may be electric, maybe hybrid, maybe at some point we'll still probably have to have some fossil fuel engines running, small landscape machinery and things of that nature. So that's, I think, all I'm going to have time for today, but this is the most questions we've ever received right now. So in closing, I try to emphasize the importance of pollution control, our relationship, but in closing, as we go into the weekend, remember that everyone in this county, please, we all need to be cyber savvy and cyber warriors. This is something that is affecting all of us in Harris County, and especially in the workplace. So please remember to be cyber savvy as you go about your everyday activity and every time you hit a keystroke. We want to thank everybody for participating, especially you, Dr. Babin.
Thank you for having me.
I got a little gift for you.
Oh.
This is a P58. This is your Swiss Army knife for anything that troubles you. It will get you out of any problem that you ever face. It will open a can opener. It's a spoon. It's what we use in the Army to solve any problem. So that is your Swiss Army knife from Universal Services, and we thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this neat little gift.
There you go. Thank you so much for being with us.